What is happening, everyone? Rugby is back this weekend. Rugby Championship, the Southern Hemisphere's premier competition, and you've got in the first round of games. Well, actually, the first two round of games, you got back-to-back games of Argentina against Australia in Buenos Aires, and you've got back-to-back South Africa, New Zealand, Springboks, All Blacks. Classic rugby rivalry. Like, they're the two most successful teams in terms of World Cup and stuff like that. So first game is in Joburg, I believe. Second game probably in Pretoria or something like that. South Africa came out and named their starting team. Not too many injuries, not too many surprises. The main talking point in terms of like missing key players is Cheslin Colby. Could be out for the whole series. He has a broken jaw, I believe. And he's actually after joining the Stormers from Toulon, but he'll certainly be out, I believe, for the first couple of games against the All Blacks. And they've gone with Curtly Orense of the Pretoria Bulls as his replacement. And what's very interesting is Ian Foster hasn't actually named his starting lineup, and the game is in about 72 hours or so. Again, for the All Blacks, there's only one main talking point in terms of injuries. Key players missing. That's Brodie Retallick. If you remember our third game against Ireland, unfortunately Andrew Porter rushed into him head on in a collision. However, Wayne Barnes deemed it not to be a red card because he was. If you look at it, he kind of absorbed the tackle, Andrew Porter, because Retallick was the offensive player running at him, and it was one of those where you knew that they were going to collide head on in a split second, and Porter didn't do anything to add to the impact. He kind of tried to stay back. He knew he was going to have to absorb that tackle, and he took damage as well, and it was unfortunate. Retallick had a broken jaw, but you could see that there was no ill intentions there, and Porter did what he could, I suppose, on a split second notice to mitigate the damage. Unfortunately, he's a big fucking unit of a man with a brick coconut of a head, so that's what happens, I suppose, when big humans collide like that. I'm sure that there was no ill intention, and he made every attempt at that point in time to mitigate the damage. But that's a big loss for the All Blacks in terms of leadership and everything like that. And like lock is one of those positions that I'd probably give the Springboks the key. And this, like, I think you have to give definitely like Springboks home field advantage, right? That alone probably adds 5 points to the Springboks. Like, Springboks are notoriously hard to beat, full stop, but especially in South Africa, in Johannesburg, first came back at the Rugby Championship. And for my money, South Africa should be favourites for this Rugby Championship, just based on past form. Like, I would probably have South Africa as the number 3 team in the world right now, just behind France and Ireland in terms of form. I think Wales exposed some flaws. However, you can't really read too much into the Wales victory there in the second game, because, like, first of all, Wales are a good team. I know they had a poor Six Nations campaign, but I'd probably have them around number 6 in the world. And Wales didn't make too many changes. Like, all throughout the tour, they looked like they were going with the best team they had available, with the players they have fit. Obviously, Wales usually have injuries and stuff like that to be dealing with. They seem to be one of the teams that week to week, whenever they're playing, they seem to have one of the longest injury lists. But they've got plenty to choose from, and I thought Wales gave a good showing of themselves. And if that Wales shows up next season for the Six Nations, I mean, we could start talking about a four horse race again. I probably have Wales like number 6 in the world right now. And again, South Africa did make 14 changes to the starting lineup for that second test. Third test, they look back to their old selves. So South Africa named their starting lineup. Front row, a hooker. You got Malcolm Marks. He's making his 50th Test cap. They decided to give him the starting lineup. I mean, you know, between him and Bongi and Manambi, you really can't go wrong. Then, you know, number 3, Franz Malherbe of Stormers. He usually plays that position, so no surprise there. Number 1, Trevin Enyakanu from Racing Metro. It's usually Oxenshire, but again, you know, the Springboks have so much depth. Like, the Springboks are renowned for their scrummaging, and they definitely have the best. Not only front row, but just depth. Just their pure depth. I mean, really, you know, the second. To be completely honest, like the second best front row in the world, after the Springboks front row, is probably the Springboks second choice front row, and then maybe, you know, you can start having conversations about like Ireland, France, England, you know, their front row when the rest players are fit. But the Springboks, France and England have the most depth throughout the board, you know, across the board, forwards and backs. So that's South Africa's starting front row. Definitely give them the advantage over the All Blacks. The All Blacks haven't actually named their team yet, but out of the players they do have in their squad, I will actually be giving what I would select, what I think the All Blacks should select their team to be. If I was selector based on the players there that they have in their squad, that's going to give them the best chance of victory. You know, personally, I think they should have put Damien McKenzie in the squad. You know, I know he's been playing in Japan, but he's gone back to New Zealand. You know, the fact that he's gone back to New Zealand, and I mean, yeah, I just think that he would have made. I get it, the politics and everything, whatever. Like, but you know, there's plenty of players for that South Africa who are playing their rugby in Japan, and seeing as how like Super Rugby has been struggling. You know, maybe that's something New Zealand need to look at. Who knows? But one thing's for sure, New Zealand don't have the depth coming through that they did before. And I think not playing those physical, strong, dynamic Springbok franchises in the Super Rugby, and only having the Australians to play, and you know, New Zealand clubs against each other is going against New Zealand on the international front. I think you've seen it now in the last couple of years since the Springbok franchise has left. So we'll go with the rest of the forward pack here for South Africa. So we've got the regulars as to be expected, Evan Etzebeth and Lou Diager, and with Brody Retallick out injured for the All Blacks. You know, first and second rows, you definitely have to give the edge to the Springboks. Back row, no real surprise. Captain Sia Kolisi, Peter Steph de Toy. Number 8, they're going Jasper Visa, Blessed Tigers. I don't know if Dwayne Vermeulen is at is at 100% match fitness. He was left out of the. First of all, I think he's just after going 36 years of age, so you know, it'll be touch and go whether like he'll be fit, whether he'll be in form, whether someone like like an Evan Ruiz or Jasper Visa makes his own, or even I was looking at Hanno Liebenberg of Leicester Tigers. Like, he hasn't even got a call up yet. That just goes to show the. I mean, he even kind of looks like a young Dwayne Vermeulen. I don't think I've got to see him play that much. Leicester this season. But I mean, like he is definitely one to look at, I believe. Going forward, so that's the Springboks back row. Halfbacks Faf and Handroy Pollard. To be expected. Centres, same again. Delende, Lucanio and then so you got your back three now. Cheslin Colby, he's the main Springboks injury. Possibly out for the series. I'm not entirely sure. Definitely, I believe out for the couple of tests against the All Blacks. So they've gone with Kurt Lawrence of the Bulls, and then obviously Mapimpi of the Sharks, and a fullback they've gone Filmsa of the Stormers with Willie LaRue on the bench. So you've got a little bit of movement there. Like, I mean, Willie LaRue is 32 now, and Damien Filmsa is very versatile. He can also play Test 10, Test 12. He's a very good player, and he's a project player, and they've obviously got a lot of confidence playing this game. Yeah, I don't have too many problems with that Springboks starting team. Personally, I haven't watched a lot of like European rugby this season. Like there's a fair few Springboks players applying their trade. I mean, obviously you got the South African clubs. They've gone with Curtly Arns there. I was slightly surprised not to see Afalele Fassi in the squad. He started the second game against Wales, and I thought he was one of the Sharks. I thought he was one of the players that stood out a bit more for the Sharks, and the last few years, and it seems like the Springboks definitely have immense depth, and I think there's a lot of players who have been trying to try in Europe, like look at guys like Jan Serfontein for Montpellier. I thought he really shined this season. But look at the depth they have with Delende, Esterhazen. I also thought actually some players for La Rochelle, like Raymond Rule and Dylan Lades, but you have to start having a conversation about them. Are they part of the Springboks' future plan? If not, they can actually both qualify to play for France through the residency rules. Are they more suited to France? There's a few players that you can have this conversation about, but they're not in the squad anyway. I'm not sure about Curtly Aronson, but obviously they see something in him, and they want to back the South African squads. That's if there is a weak link at all in the Springboks team, I suppose that might be the one area in the back three of the backs. That you could say maybe New Zealand have the advantage. I think on paper it's not quite as daunting when you're not staring across the pitch from Ches and Colby. Whereas like I'm going to give what I think my New Zealand team will be. So we're going to go back to front with that segue with back three. So South Africa, I'm giving South Africa the advantage from 1 to 5, first and second row. I'm going to be realistic. I think New Zealand are going to start Sam Cane. I don't hate Sam Cane. He's not a bad player. Peter O'Malley might have called him a shit Richie McCaw, but I don't think Peter O'Malley's a legend. Well, to be fair now, I think Peter O'Malley. I think a lot of players, Irish players, probably get in that All Blacks team. I think most of them would actually. Ahead of the All Blacks, but the backs, I think the All Blacks might have the overall advantage in the backs. I believe certainly in the back three, the way I'm going to line them up, I think Beauden Barra has been playing a lot at out half, a test out half, and he did start off his All Blacks career, I believe, at fullback. And since they're not giving Damien McKenzie a look in, probably until he plays some games domestically in New Zealand, so he's out. It's usually Jordy Barrett who plays at fullback, but Jordy Barrett's very versatile, and I just think other than that first game against Ireland, New Zealand didn't look as potent as now that might be a lot of credit to like the Irish defence and stuff, and absolutely like Ireland are one of the stauncher defensive units, and I think New Zealand are going to need to change it up a little bit from the way they lined up those last two tests against Ireland, if they want to score tries away, if they want to get points on the board, away in South Africa, because it's not easy to get a lot of points away in South Africa, and I would probably say, I would imagine, like I'm going to break down how I think this game will play out, but I would imagine that Andre Pollard would be quite happy once he's about kind of 40 metres out to just keep the scoreboard ticking over. Like I foresee Andre Pollard slotting a few penalties over, and giving South Africa that buffer giving South Africa that buffer early if New Zealand can't get over the whitewash. I think New Zealand are more likely to. I think New Zealand are more likely to kick for corner and kind of live off scraps, because I believe South Africa will probably have the advantage in terms of like possession, territory, all that. I think they could bully them a little bit up front. I mean, they can do that to most teams, let's be real. You know, on their day they can do it to any team. The only real teams I suppose that could really give them a game up front would be, you know, the Northern Hemisphere big boys like Ireland, England, France. So South Africa. So I'm gonna put Bolton Barrett at fullback. Okay. Ian Foster still hasn't ended the team yet. I'm not sure what kind of game he's playing. Maybe he doesn't know his best 15. But Bolton Barrett fullback, and then Sever Reese and Will Jordan on the wings. Right there with Chelsea Cobby out. That back three. I'm giving New Zealand the advantage there. They're a better counter attacking team, and I think New Zealand, while Andre Pollard, I think is very likely to score more points off the boot than, let's say, one of the Barretts or Richie Mo'unga. I actually would give New Zealand the edge to score more tries. I think South Africa are just they're gonna bully them up front. They're gonna play a lot of 10-man rugby, to be honest. Because I do believe in the back line, New Zealand do have the advantage. You know, with everything I alluded to there with Chelsea and Colby, and then obviously South Africa have the pack advantage. I'll have the conversation about the back row soon, but I think, you know, probably South Africa have the half-back advantage at 9 and 10, Faf and Andre over Aaron Smith, and I'm actually gonna put Richie Mo'unga in at number 10. You know, from what I hear, he had a very good season at the Crusaders, and we're gonna put Bowden at 15, right? So Bowden, Sever Reese, Will Jordan. Number 12, we're gonna go Jordy Barrett for centre, Rico Ioane number 13. Again, that's a very, very good matchup for in the centres between Delende and Jordy and Rico Ioane. That's dead even. That's that you can't. I couldn't call that, you know. And then we're ooh. Who'd you put at scrum half? Like realistically, New Zealand are gonna probably put the tried and tested Aaron Smith there. Yeah, you know, so I'm gonna put Aaron Smith there, but definitely put Finley Christie on the bench and, you know, see what he can do. Maybe give him a start in the second test, depending. Yeah, so Aaron Smith and Richie Mo'unga. So I think you have to give, in that scenario, you have to give the half-back advantage just to the Springboks, and then the back three. So it's the back three advantage New Zealand, centre very even. So I'm gonna give a slight advantage overall to the New Zealand backs. I think you know, they're a little bit more potent, and I think New Zealand will probably have to live off scraps, and when they do have the ball, really make it count, and, you know, go for, they can cut any team apart with like a back three of Sever Reese, Will Jordan, you know, Bodie Barrett, and then just, you know, Rico Ioane in the centre. Yeah, like they can tear it up, you know, but South Africa are very good defensively. But I think if New Zealand switch up their backline like that, I think it can reap the benefits. But we'll see how we'll see if Ian Foster wants to play it safe, or he wants to tweak it a little bit. And then, so in the pack then, let's start off with the front row. I think you've got George Bower, he played in the Ireland games, we'll keep him. I think like the New Zealand front row is one of the most underwhelming front rows it's been in recent years. So George Bower, Cody Taylor, and I know that he's only on like he's technically in the squad, but he's like a fill-in. I'm gonna go with Tyrell Lomax. I think just change it up, because like everyone's kind of expecting South Africa to boss them anyway, and if it's same old from New Zealand, we know what we're gonna get. Let's see like let's see potential. Let's see like a future, you know, a future guy that New Zealand want to groom for the future, and let's see how he holds up, because I don't think they've got much to lose there in the front row. So yeah, Lomax, hooker,
Taylor, and then who was the fella I said? George Bauer, yeah. So then they're missing Brody Retallick, so we're gonna put Scott Barrett in there. So Scott Barrett and Sam Whitelock. So like obviously that's a big advantage there for South Africa. In the front five, number 8, no surprise. We're gonna go Artie Savia, and then just I know like because they've named Sam Cane as captain. Like I'm gonna try to do it like put my stamp on it, my spin on it, but like it's pretty obvious he's gonna continue going with Sam Cane. Dalton Papa Lee's the better player in my opinion. He's more dynamic. You know he has more upside, but I reckon they're gonna go with Sam Cane. So we're gonna honour that for this game, I suppose. Give him the benefit of the doubt. Hopefully he can deliver, and then blind side we're going to go. It's a tough call between probably keeper Kira Ioane, but Shannon Frizzell is pushing it close, and that's something like if the back row, just because due to their size, not necessarily skill but size, and I suppose experience in big games as well, like the South African back row, if you look at the big games they've had in the last few years compared to New Zealand, they've got a much better record. So I definitely give the pack overall a good advantage over New Zealand, and give the New Zealand backline a slight advantage. So with that, and when I'm breaking down how I think the game will go, probably by the time we get to the second half, I'll get into the benches, but like the main guys, I suppose, on the bench, you've got the bomb squad for South Africa. They'll probably bring them on at half time, and it won't really weaken them at all. Because it'll be fresh pair of legs, fresh set of lungs, and they've got Mbonambi and Vincent Koch, and just ridiculous, Mal Hervester and Kitsov, yeah, there you go, 6-2 split for South Africa. So then trying to think, Salmon Morat, Quagga Smith, and Franco Mostert, and then Jaden Hendrickson and Willie Leroux. So like Leroux can play, he's pretty versatile. Like if he really wanted, he could play 10 or 12 as well as fullback. So like the New Zealand bench, I'll go. I think Dan Cole's in the squad, right? Let's just use his experience. If he's fit to play, Dan Cole's, and then who is that? Because see, I get them mixed up with these fucking, what's the region they're from? Because a lot of the players are from like the Oceanic region. Yeah, these fucking mad Pacific Island names. There was a winger called Fanga or something. We're gonna call him Fanga, I think it was. But there was a prop called Fanga Nuku, right? So we'll put the prop called Fanga Nuku, 17, and then Eaton the Groot 18, 19. New Zealand are pretty short of second rows. Polotu, Polotu, yeah, again another Pacific Islander. Put him at 19. Shannon Frizzell at 20. Finley Christie 21. David Havili 22, and I'm trying to think of a back three player. We'll put Caleb Clark at 23. So I think South Africa are going to suffocate New Zealand a little bit in the beginning. First quarter again, I'm going to say Andre Pollard to slot over 2 penalties within the first 20 minutes. So South Africa with a 6-0 buffer. Half hour mark again, another Andre Pollard penalty. New Zealand will score a kind of a counter attack triumphs. This is the way I'm seeing the game go, right? Like so, this is how I'll give my predictions. I'm just gonna like simulate the game in my head, and then like tell you what I see, and that's how I'll be breaking games down going forward. And let's see how I do. So I'm gonna go Will Jordan scoring a counter attack try in the corner, but it's gonna be a tough conversion in the corner, and we'll say Richie Mwanga takes it, but obviously he misses, and then just on the edge of half time, like Andre Pollard strokes another one over. 12-5 South Africa break at half time. So that's how I see it in the first half. Like just one try and the Andre Pollard boo. Like that's kind of the South Africa. That is the South Africa game plan. I think just to kind of soften them up. I think then like half time South Africa are gonna throw in their bomb squad. Um, will New Zealand do anything? I'd say, you know, Fozzie might just leave it until first 10 minutes and look at bringing on Frizzell and Christie. Again, I think like New Zealand are probably going to come at them a little bit, but South Africa are going to defend. They're going to keep them out, and then I think again, you know, I'd love to see tries, but I just, when I envisage this game, I see a lot of kicking from Handré Pollard and South kicking off base. So I'm going to go Handré Pollard to add another after about 10 minutes, but New Zealand come back at them and they will get a try, and I'm going to go through Rico Ioane, and Moanga's going to hit the conversion, and after an hour South Africa will be leading 15 points to 12, and then you start to see subs, like you see, let's say, Willie LaRue. He'll come on just to short things up with the experience for like film set. Shannon Frizzell is going to come on. We'll put him on for Sam Kane. Yeah, and then just let's just say like the empty ball benches by the 65th minute marker or whatever. Again, another Handré Pollard penalty. Little more 10 minutes to go. South Africa up by 6. New Zealand will settle for a penalty because if it comes down to losing bonus point, Moanga, and then you know, with a couple of minutes left, Mapimpi's going to get a try in the corner. Pollard will miss the conversion, and then that's all she wrote. So what's that then? I'm taking a 23-15 points to South Africa. I think Mapimpi will score, and I think New Zealand will try to push either for a 3-pointer or a try to get that losing bonus point, but there won't quite be enough time left on the clock. New Zealand will outscore them by 2-1. There you go. Don't foresee many tries. 23 points to 15 for South Africa, and I'll actually get into game 2 pretty soon. I mean, to be completely honest, I don't really give that much of a shit about Argentina, Australia. Like, yeah, I'll probably watch it, but I reckon right now like Argentina are maybe number 8 in the world, and Australia are number 7. I would say I would put Wales ahead of them, and I for the last few years, right, like Australia are a bit of a strange team because they seem well equipped to beat the likes of France and even South Africa. Like Australia have had a knack for beating South Africa in Australia these last few years, so that's something to their credit. And you know, like I'd also probably give them a good chance in a game that mattered against like Scotland or Wales. You know, obviously Argentina. But again, those aren't certainties for Australia. Like I would put Australia in the same kind of conversation with the likes of Scotland, Wales, and Argentina, rather than like Ireland, France. Like I think kind of within tier 1, you've almost got 2 tiers. So you got like Ireland, France, South Africa, England, New Zealand. Like that's tier 1. But like at the minute, like kind of England and New Zealand are somewhere in between, because obviously like they're competing with the top 3, but you know, you can't say that a game against Australia or Wales wouldn't be intriguing right now, because we don't honestly know where they are in relation to them, because like Wales are after beating South Africa, and to be honest, would anyone really have absolute confidence in like New Zealand beating Australia or Wales right now? I'd probably pick them, but this is kind of how close these teams are. So yeah, like I reckon it's probably gonna be between the Springboks and New Zealand for the Rugby Championship title. I think it's unlikely that you'll see a Grand Slam. You know, over 6 games, playing each team twice. South Africa have New Zealand twice at home. If South Africa go 2-0, I think that's gonna go a huge way towards South Africa winning, and I'm gonna go South Africa week 1, and we'll see what happens week 2. But you know, Australia have South Africa twice at home. So if Australia were able to do the double over South Africa again, that could really give New Zealand a lifeline. You know, personally, I don't see Australia beating South Africa twice at home again. You know, the most likely one is probably 1-1. I'm just rushing to the toilet to take a piss, guys, because I need to fucking go like a racehorse. But I will break down the Argentina-Australia game for you soon. Take care.